we go. Thanks.
Good
evening, Mr. Rector. Welcome.
How are you?
Oh, Rector's here too. Okay, good.
Oh, thank you.
I
Jennifer,
don't have.
can you unmute and so we can at least make sure we can hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. And I don't know if anybody saw in the chat feature, she just wrote that she does not have a camera.
Right.
Well, it is 6:30. We do have a quorum. We have 5 people. We're missing Mark Rodriguez and Jason Hood.
What is the board's pleasure? There's Mr. Rodriguez. Do you want to give Jason another minute or two just because this is all a new experience?
Oh,
Sounds reasonable.
Hi, folks. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can. Do you have a camera, Mark, as well, or just the audio? Oh, I see you now. Great. Welcome back.
Okay, there's Mark. There's
Up here.
Jennifer's on.
And turn on this monitor.
Let's see who it is. Let's see, Bruce. Okay, Bruce, Mike, Scott. All right. Okay.
How's
So,
everybody?
Pat, I'm just thinking if I have 2 or 3 minutes of reading to do at the beginning here, because I have to read this big block of text at the start, do you want to start the meeting now? And also, please feel free during the meeting, if we miss any points of order or anything like that, please jump in and let us know.
I will.
Yep. All right, so it's 6:30. Let's see here. Call this meeting to order. Mr. Lavery, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. I'm going to start by reading the section at the beginning of the agenda. To ensure public safety and comply with the governor's safer at home order in response to the COVID-19 virus, the Parks and Recreation Board will hold a public meeting on Tuesday, October 27th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. using communications media technology. Pursuant to Executive Order number 20-69 issued by the Office of Governor Ron DeSantis on March 20th, 2020, municipalities may conduct meetings of their governing boards without having a quorum of its members present physically or at any specific location, and utilizing communications media technology such as telephonic or video conferencing as provided by Section 120.54, Section 5B2 Florida statutes. The meeting will be held through the Zoom platform and will be recorded. The city will be accepting public comment at this meeting from in-person attendees or by staff presentation of pre-written public comments. Citizens wishing to provide comments on an agenda item are encouraged to do so in advance through written comment. The city has established the following 2 options to ensure public comment for a virtual meeting. 1, e-comments via Granicus. E-comments is integrated with the published meeting agenda. Individuals may review the agenda item details and indicate their position on the item. You will be prompted to set up a user profile to allow you to comment, which will become part of the official public record. The e-comment period is open from the time the agenda is published. Comments received during the meeting will become part of the official record. If posted prior to the closing of public comment, the city clerk will read received comments into the record. Number 2, council chambers. Additionally, like any other Parks and Recreation Board meeting, the public may provide public comment during the meeting at the main library, council chambers, 100 North Osceola Avenue. Due to COVID-19, all speakers desiring to appear in person will be subject to all applicable emergency measures in place to prevent the further spread of COVID-19. Speakers who appear in person will be subject to screening for symptoms of COVID-19. Any persons exhibiting any symptoms of COVID-19 will not be permitted to enter council chambers, but will be able to participate through the remote options described above. Mr. Rodriguez, back to you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for everyone coming today. I really do appreciate everyone's participation. It's been a long time. It's kind of interesting that we're going to be reviewing and approving the minutes of October 22nd, 2019. So it's just been that kind of a year. So also, I want to just mention that I really appreciate you guys voting me in again as chairman. And the last couple of months, it's on me. I wish I could have done a little bit better. It's a learning experience, but I'm glad we're here. We can move on and kind of get things going again and serve our citizens. So our first item is the approval of minutes. I guess did everybody have time to review and any comments, questions, or concerns on this?
Mr. Rodriguez, if I could point out, I believe you said the minutes of the October 2019 meeting. So you may be looking at the minutes themselves that we are approving rather than the
All right.
agenda that's currently.
Oh, I'm sorry. Uh,
Be January 28th.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. I apologize. My fault. Yeah, we're. There they go. Okay. So we're going to. Oh, we're going back to the January 28th, right? Minutes from there, which include the minutes from the 22nd. Before that.
No, we have one set of minutes, January 28th, 2020.
Okay, I'm a bit lost. I'm sorry. So I'm sorry, if someone can clarify for me, just assist me here. We're approving the minutes from the January 22nd,
January 28th.
28th, sorry, January 28th, 2020.
Right.
Did everyone get a chance to review?
Yes.
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 All right. Any comments, questions, or concerns on the minutes there?
No.
No.
None.
Okay. What is this?
So if someone wants to make a motion to.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second
that
that
was-
motion.
I'm sorry, when you make a motion and second, will you please state your name? Because I don't know. I don't see everybody. So who made the motion?
Not Thomas.
Yeah. Okay. And who made the second?
Jennifer Wood.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. So that. My screen's died here. Okay, and then, all right, so now, moving to the next item.
Well, we need to have a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. All those in favor, please. Sam?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Now moving forward. It's been a while, sorry. Next
Okay.
item is citizens to be heard regarding items not on the agenda, and the public podium, I don't see anyone there at the moment.
Mr. Rodriguez, if I could just remind all the board members that for this section, there will be e-comments that Ms. Sullivan will be reading to us. Also, members of the public would be at the public podium. You can see there. Their comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. So we'll have the timer running in the council chambers. And this is also a time when people provide their comments, and then at the end of the public comment period, that's when the board can discuss anything that were raised. Hey, Eric at public podium, do we have anyone from the public to speak?
There are no comments.
Okay, is there anyone in the council chambers? Can you hear us over there? I saw Mr. Johnson. I thought he would want to say something.
That's all.
These are items not on the agenda.
Oh, that's my mistake. Yes, he may have a comment on something that is on the agenda.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so then there is no one else at the public podium to speak. Ms. Sullivan said there's no comments, is that correct?
No, and the light has gone off in my office, so I'm in the dark.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, energy efficiency gone amok. There are no e-comments.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Mr. Rodriguez, we'll move on to new business items.
Yes, move on to the next item, new business items. We'll discuss the proposed new development of the land use golf course into light industrial use. So
this was an item requested by Ms. Wood to be added to the agenda. So this is one council can discuss. Board can discuss.
All right. Thank you.
So, this is Jennifer Wood.
Thank you.
It was brought to my attention by a couple constituents that they wanted us to talk about it, to have a better understanding of why the city would sell a piece of property or change the use of a piece of property, considering the Landings Golf Course has been here for decades and it is a public course that it's used by many of our taxpayers. And so if we can just have a discussion on that so we have a better understanding.
Well, I might be able to start with when I first heard about it, I sent off a request to the lady that's in charge of the sustainability for the city of Clearwater, Jennifer, I believe is her first name. And the lady that's in charge of the business development that would report to the council on the proposal. And each of them sent me their notes and stuff that they'd sent to the council relative to this proposal. I read through them and so forth, and basically felt, having heard from them as well as other people that had concern for the proposal, that the city would benefit rather significantly from adopting this proposal to develop light industrial in that area from not only a revenue standpoint, but from a job standpoint. So I was pretty much convinced from what I looked at and talked to other people about, it appeared to me to be a very good thing for the city of Clearwater relative to increasing our tax revenues, as well as creating some jobs in the area in a light industrial environment. And although there are some other concerns that have to be addressed, I was quite impressed with the reasonableness of that proposal and believe it should be adopted myself.
Thank you, Mr. Rafferty. Anyone else? My concern, if I may, just that,
Who's speaking?
it's me, it's Mark, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Just my concern that I had was that I'm wondering how much industrial space is already available and not being leased, considering the COVID situation and the possible downturn in the economy, if this is the most prudent opportunity. And also, personally, I feel that losing green space in this city, which is something that a lot of people that don't live here, that move down and get to experience a lot of the tourism that we get here, especially in the winter time. Once you lose that green space, we will never get it back again. And that is where my concern lies for the future generations. And you said it's a golf course, but if there's a way to, let's say the golf course, and I believe that in some conversations, the golf course said they're okay, they're ambivalent, they're apathetic whether they keep the lease or not, they defer to us and what we decide to do for the city going forward. If it can be turned into maybe an event space or something just to keep the green. Because I just know from experience living in other large cities, once you get rid of the greenery, trees are gone, they rarely do industrial areas come back and be turned into parks again. And I'm looking toward voting against it.
I think one of the things that was pointed out as this proposal was being reviewed and so forth, is that the golf course that it currently exists, or the landings, will not be able to sustain themselves economically because there's some things they would have to do to the course to maintain it. So the golf course is going to be lost just regardless. And the developer came forward with a program that I listened to on the Clearwater Neighborhood Coalition group. They invited the developer and the city people to come and speak to them about it. And they pointed out that they were going to maintain a very significant area that would be, quote, green space, that would be a buffer between the residential area and the light industrial area that they were proposing. And the thing I liked about the light industrial area is it's going to be designed so that it would be not heavy industrial manufacturing, it would be light industrial manufacturing, could even be warehousing, but typically medical technology and things like that. And I felt that the loss of the green space, although it's certainly important and perhaps a congestion in the area that they would see, be more than offset by the economic benefits to the city, and in particular, creating in this area good paying jobs that would be available to the citizens in Clearwater with not a very much of a commute to get to those jobs. And I think they're not going to, in any type of environment, that they're going to have to build and to begin to solicit people to occupy those spaces, as opposed to building something that has an immediate demand for it. So there's always going to be a risk that you will build it and they may not come. But I quite frankly think that the attractiveness of the location, the city of Clearwater, might make it very attractive for industrial manufacturing type, light industrial manufacturing types to sign up for space in this development.
Michael, Mr. Lever, I'm not sure if I was able to keep track. I only found out about it recently, and wondering about the the city council meetings, was this discussed as well? I think one person mentioned that it was kind of the last thing after like 6 hours of the meeting, was like the last item late into the night. And I'm sure people had a chance to discuss, or the citizens got a chance to voice their concerns.
Yeah, understood. And I'll respond to that, and then also let Mr. Cater step in if I missed anything. So this was discussed at council meeting and appropriately advertised, and all of the ways that, the regulations that make sure that the public comment is able to be heard. And this is the ultimate one because it's a referendum on our ballot. So, every voter is gets to say if they want to do this or not. What I wanted to point out was, I think that Ms. Wood's initial concern was that this item did not come before before this board, before the city council decided to send it for a referendum. And just wanted to clarify, in the role of the board is that if the city council, this is an advisory board for the council, but they're by no means required to request an opinion or ask for advice, essentially. So the council had voted to send this on to the referendum, and did not ask for it to be reviewed by this board. Mr. Cater, I don't know if you have anything to add to that or any other thoughts on that.
No, I think this is Art Cater. I think the council on several meetings did discuss the item because it had to be placed on the ballot. And because of that, much discussion. There were a lot of citizens that did come before the council and shared their views about it. I think one of the concerns that many have is just the timing of the project, the fact that perhaps everyone didn't get to hear about it adequately, that type of thing. But this apparently has been on the table for some time, and so I know that it's a very hot item. I know but it's left up to the voters to make the decision about that. And certainly the board is advisory, and they will listen to your opinions. And again, that's the reason why you can write anything to them at any time, make recommendations at this board, even tonight. And we can send those up to the council for their information. And then they use that to help make their decisions.
This is Patrick Rafferty once again. I think a very important thing that took place also at those council discussions was their decision to propose this for a voter referendum, which in my opinion makes the approval or disapproval of this proposal to the voters. The voters will basically be the ones that make the final decision, regardless of individual thoughts or advisory board recommendations, et cetera, which I think is wonderful. And it has been out there for quite a while. And I'm hoping, like myself, that the voters that will be voting for or against this will have taken that time to study the issue, seek the information, and based upon the facts that they have and their decision making, they will come to the conclusion whether this is something they can vote and approve or not. And they would have done that by the time of the election. So I think that you can't ask for better forum than the citizens of Clearwater to say yay or nay on this one.
And this is Scott Thomas, and I would echo Mr. Rafferty's comments. Really, the city council did discuss this at several meetings that I watched, and their only job was to recommend that it be placed on the ballot so that the citizens can hear it. And it, as Mr. Rafferty said, it is the citizens' responsibility to either approve or deny it. I share the same concerns from what I've heard that Mr. Rafferty has, that it's a golf course that is not headed in the right direction to begin with. I too like the plan the developer put together. I'm just one vote and one person, but they're still keeping the driving range. So there's still going to be some portion of the golf course there. You know, people could still go out and hit balls. I think they're going to hit it into water, if I understand that correctly. But, you know, I like green space as well. But I also, I golf in that golf course. And, you know, there's not much traffic that goes through there. It is a dying golf course. And I don't think the city is making any money, or not much money. Is it $1,000 or $10,000 that the city's making? It's not much.
Yeah.
So, you know,
It's about $1,000 a month they get from the golf course presently. And
that's what I thought.
in a final note, I'd like to say that after, I'm sure, much study and recommendation as well, the Tampa Bay Times came out in favor of this proposal and recommended that the citizens of Clearwater approve it, which I thought was an excellent position, typically well-researched and thought about before they take a position.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
Well, I would like to, this is Art Cater again, I would like to make sure that we understand and clear the record concerning the Houstons, who are the operators of that golf course now. There have been some things said that they cannot operate it anymore. They will go under. The reality is, if this is in fact defeated, they are still a viable tenant there. They do have a lease with the city until, I believe it is 2029. They will have to actually switch to reclaimed water, which currently they're drawing their water from a well, which means that the cost of their water is nothing, so to speak. So when you go to reclaimed, the cost will probably be, considering our other two golf courses that we have, they pay approximately, I don't want to speak out, I'm not sure of the numbers exactly, but it's somewhere in the range of $25,000 to $32,000 a year. This is a much smaller golf course. However, it will have a tremendous impact from an operating budget standpoint. And in addition, they'll need to actually hook up to the reclaim system. So I didn't want anybody to get the idea that this is fait accompli, so to speak, from the standpoint of the operators of that golf course.
If I could interrupt for a second, Ms. Sullivan, there's like public comment supposed to be at the beginning of the item because we didn't do that part.
No, at the end.
At the end. Okay, thank you. I see Mr. Johnson waiting. Okay.
If I might add myself, you know, as it sits today, it's not a Parks and Recreation asset. It's a city property leased to a private operator. So it's not a question about giving up or relinquishing what is currently a Parks and Recreation asset. The folks have already voted on this issue. So I think that our best approach as an advisory board would be to see what the citizens decide next week. If they turn it down, then the city will have to make a decision on how it's going to use the property going forward. Mr. Cater is right, but my understanding from the mayor and a couple of the council members is that the operator cannot afford the reclaimed water to maintain the course. So they're not going to operate it as a golf course going forward. And if it is turned down, then it will be, I would hope that the council would come to us for advice on how the property might be used as a Parks and Recreation asset. But I think until next Tuesday, it's really premature for us to discuss it much. Whether the council should have or should not have consulted this advisory board, they didn't. And it's now on the ballot. And we'll see what the citizens decide Tuesday and then react to it as a board.
Excellent point. I'm just glad that we even get, I like the chance to discuss it just that it's on the record as far as the Parks Department, and at least that we know, we're aware, and at least we have an idea what's going on. And 350,000 ballots have already been cast. 49% of Pinellas County has already voted. So that's pretty amazing number so far. So
Well,
yeah. And did we have public comment at the moment?
Well, Les asked for the in-person. Oh, I see Mr. Johnson is here. Mr. Johnson also made a comment on Granicus, but I can do one or the other.
Mr. Johnson, would you like to speak it here or have your e-comment be your comment?
Well, quite frankly, since you've already said how you're going to vote, I'm not sure that it's you're welcoming public comment. I did have some comments that I thought I would share with you that I think are relative to your ultimate decision. Let me start by saying that I'm president of the League of Women Voters of North Pinellas. We responded to a member concern with a proposed conversion of open space to industrial research use. Our opinion followed a 3-step study and documentation, followed by general membership meeting and a formal board vote. The conclusion was there was considerable evidence to warrant opposing the upcoming referendum because we believe the planning process was flawed and the residents, taxpayers, and other stakeholders deserve and require a rigorous and comprehensive approach to achieve the ultimate long-term land use of municipally owned property. One example of that flawed process is that this group was not consulted until today, and as far as I know, you weren't consulted about the efficiency of the golf course that has been operating for the last 10 years. So how did this happen? We found from a public record request that alternative uses were not considered because the economic development plan called for this type of conversion at this location. But yet a careful review of the printed economic development plan document calls for an investigation of the long-term feasibility of converting to industrial. The council authorized such a study in November 2011 that was to be completed by 2012. But the public record requests indicate that no documented results of this investigation were ever initiated. Because of this intentional or unintentional assumption of planned reuse, the normal governance review against the future land use maps and comprehensive plans was not presented to the council, nor did the council look at the existing need for multi-purpose sports facilities as documented in the 2013 Parks and Rec Master Plan. I sent you a copy of a portion of that. A similar shortcut process along with a well-funded advertising campaign could virtually convert other open space park rec facilities to revenue producing facilities in the future. This is an issue for the future. The process should be followed. Even if the citizens approve the referendum, you must address the comprehensive plan policies of the city before it is adopted. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Is there anyone else in the public podium that cares to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. And thank you very much for that comment and the everyone's discussion. Is there any other comments or concerns? And I guess I understand where kind of we fall out of it because it's a city property, and these are the things that I would like to prevent going forward, where it'd be, I guess it's something we can discuss another time or try to figure out how we can be more agile and receptive to concerns, because I didn't find out until recently, and that kind of that's I figure is partly my fault, but I think I would definitely like for our our advisory board to be more agile, be more receptive, be more responsive, and be a little bit more on top of items like this that are major concerns to a lot of our citizens. So, but I guess something we have to work on. But does anyone else have any other comments or concerns or questions?
This is Patrick Raftery. I first heard about this sustainability fields issue today. I don't know if it was raised before. I certainly did not hear about it as I was examining the pros and cons of adopting this proposal. But having it sent to me today, essentially what it's saying is for a city the size of Clearwater, we should have 29 sustainability fields within the city limits. We presently have 18, plus 4 fields associated with high schools, Clearwater High School and Countryside High School, that are available on a limited basis. So in a sense, we are short 11 sustainability fields, and I believe it's now being proposed that we consider not going forward with this light industrial development and perhaps to convert that area into those sustainability fields. And this is a new issue that I think we need to give some careful thought to and analyze it before we make a decision. But it struck me immediately that if in fact we did do that, are they proposing that those sustainability fields all be in that one area, in which case that would be the area of the sustainability fields for that neighborhood? And I would prefer we look at options that might say sustainability fields to be raised would be done in this area, perhaps plus other areas of the city to benefit all neighborhoods. But as I said, I just heard about this today, and I've not had a great deal of time to study it other than those facts I'm aware of presently from the report from the League of Women Voters.
Thank you. Yeah, I did hear about it recently, and also that's one thing. Yesterday some of us, I'm sure, we were involved in the candidates for the new director of the Parks and Rec Department, and one of the questions and one of the concerns was because there's so much sports tourism here in Florida, in Clearwater, and it's growing, especially with Eddie C. Moore Fields being an ESPN center now for softball and for national tournaments. That would be an option that I wish would have been also discussed as far as converting it into some kind of sports field, because Clearwater is becoming a major sports destination now, along with spring training and now college sports. And we're going to be reaching out, I believe, Mr. Lay, we're going to be reaching out to more national events to see if we can bring them down and come this way. So that I think there's an opportunity for the city as well. And the people that come to the, I guess it's the women's softball championships, people go to the beaches, people go to the restaurants, they fill up the hotels. They think that would be a possible opportunity other than just light industrial, which is basically, isn't that what Hercules has a lot of some light industrial there as well? And that's all I have.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman, I'm personally, certainly, our company I work for, we're very heavy in sports tourism, not just in Florida, but around the United States. And definitely there's a demand in Pinellas County. We've been, over the years, we've worked with the city of Clearwater. We've worked with Pinellas County government to identify inventory. And we could definitely use more inventory to draw that kind of event to our county, which is good for all of us, all the taxpayers, all the businesses. So I don't think, regardless of how the landings proposal comes out, I think it'd be good for this board and for the city to continue to look for opportunities to expand our inventory of athletic fields, because of the reasons you just mentioned. It's we're missing out on a big opportunity for the taxpayers of Clearwater by not meeting the goals that Mr. Johnson has shared that with us here for expanding that inventory and opportunity for our citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Arthur. Yeah, boats kind of sailed until next Tuesday. We'll find out from the yes, Mr. Lieber.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point. This is a discussion item on the agenda. You're not voting on it because there's no motion to vote on at the moment. The only thing I could think of would be a letter asking the council, a letter from the board clarifying the process or something like that for the redevelopment of parks or something to that of that nature. But Mr. Cater, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the City Council has yet to schedule, but intends to schedule very soon, I believe a special meeting to talk about the role of the advisory boards. So I think it might make more sense to wait for that meeting. When that is happening, I will make sure to get that information to all of you so that you can all watch that meeting and understand where the council's, where their heads are at in terms of the role of the board. And if there's further clarification needed after that, then or something.
All right, well, thank you. And yes, since we're not really voting on anything on, I propose we move to the next item. Unless there's anyone else who has any comments, questions, or concerns at this time. All right, let's move over to old business, the report on chemical products used in the Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Michael Lavery of Parks and Recreation. So this was a request from a member of the public that spoke at your January meeting, and the board voted to request that we kind of compile a report of all of the chemicals and fertilizers and such that we use. So I did that report for fiscal year 2020. That's starting on October 1st of 2019 and ending this past September 30th. So I sent that to you. There are 4 sections: fertilizers, fungicides, herbicides, and pesticides. And I guess I can go on about our chemical usage, or I'll wait to hear what questions council the board may have about it.
This is Patrick Raftery. I did have a question after looking at that report. As I recall from the minutes of the 28th of January meeting, request came from Liz Dreyer and the board approved it, but I believe it contained 3 elements. It asked from the Parks and Recreation Department a listing of those chemicals, number 1, which they have done and provided to us. But number 2, it asked if they could identify those on that list that may be harmful to people, particularly children. And number 3, if they were determined to be harmful, was there a process that they could follow that would eliminate the use of that chemical or herbicide? So I think the first element was complied with, but I don't see anything relative to the second and third item that was requested.
Sure, I can respond to that, Mr. Rodriguez, if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, so I thought about this for a while, and actually Mr. Cater and I spoke about it at some length. In using any chemicals, fertilizers, herbicides, anything like that, there is a label, a very extensive label on each one of these products. And the label starts at the very beginning with using this product in any different way than is on this label is a violation of federal law. So that's the first thing they teach you if you're going for your spray license, is what they call it, is the label is the law. And the reason for that is because if these chemicals are not used properly, they can be harmful. All of our applicators are trained and licensed. And we also, we use as little as possible. When I was compiling this list with one of our landscape managers, he was, I know Roundup is not a very popular product right now. We used 94 gallons of Roundup last year. In the past, that number had been in the hundreds. This is going back several years. So we have implemented an integrated pest management program, and that kind of program is designed to limit the types and the quantities of chemicals and fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, to limit the amount of those things that we use. And I think we've done a good job with that. I know these numbers may be a little bit hard to figure out, but if you think, what does that mean if it's 200 pounds or 4 ounces of this? But we're talking about an enormous number of enormous, like the acreage of our athletic fields and our parks and lawns and everything like that. Yeah, so I guess we follow the law, and following the law and putting appropriate signage up at all of our sites that have been treated to not enter them until they're dry and things like that is specifically designed to be not harmful to people and especially not harmful to children. I don't know if Mr. Cater wants to add to that.
This is Art Cater. No, I think Michael, shared it very, very well about what we do. So the reason it didn't say whether it was safe or unsafe for the citizens is that it is safe, depending upon how it's put down. And we do have a strict program, have supervisors that monitor this, those people that are all licensed that put this down. And so I feel very confident that the chemicals themselves being put down on our grounds, on our ball fields, are safe to the citizens. There are some warnings we put out that nobody needs to go on the grass for 24 hours. If people don't adhere to that, or if the gates aren't locked, then it could be problematic, but that is not the case. And so that's the reason we didn't go down each one of them and say, because we believe they are safe in the way we are putting them on the fields, according to law.
This is Patrick Rafferty once again. I understand exactly what you're saying, and quite frankly, I thought it would have helped then had a simple statement be added to the report that says that all the chemicals listed are being used in a safe and lawful manner, and there are none of these chemicals that we would consider for that very reason to be eliminated from use, and that would take care of the request.
We can certainly add that.
You know what, Mr. Chairman, Bruce Rector, if I would assume that the request was also because of the concern over runoff, that these fertilizers, so on and so forth, run off into our stormwater and into the Gulf and into our waterways. And Mr. Laborie, I think, explained that there's a plan and a process to over time reduce the use of fertilizers and pesticides and chemicals in general as much as possible to try to limit that environmental impact, whatever it may be.
Yep.
One question, Alvin, not to blame any of the actual chemicals, but like say something like ammonium sulfate, which is, I know it's a salt, but it can be reactive and explosive. Like, how are they kept? How are they stored?
This is Michael Lavery with Parks and Recreation. The storage of the chemicals and fertilizers is also regulated by the law in terms of how and where they can be stored. These are all in secure facilities that also, I believe every one of them has closed circuit television as well. We have, to my knowledge, and Mr. Cater can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe we've ever had anything stolen from our fertilizer stores or anything like that.
No.
Well, my only concern is, in case of fire, I'm sure you guys have mitigation steps for all that in case some event were to happen. And I don't think you store everything in one place, I don't believe. So because the sums are just total overall.
Yeah, that's correct. These sums are the total amount applied across all Parks and Recreation facilities for the fiscal year 2020.
If anyone has any other questions, comments, or concerns, I say we move on to the next item, updating on CIP projects.
This is Art Cater. I know that you also, this is one of the attachments that is available, and it's one of the reports that you had always received as a CIP report. And in the past, and this was, prior to me attending the last meeting, I know that obviously any of us can read these reports and get all the information, but I did want to come and just share with you, because it's been so long, a couple of the projects and mention them. One is the Crest Lake project, which is a very large project. It is totally renovating that park. We're getting very close to the end. We have 3 months left. The installation of all the boardwalks and the sidewalks, they're almost all completed. The restroom building was trucked in last week, and the shelters are going in as well. So I did want to bring that to your attention. Also, when we do have our ribbon cutting for that park, we certainly will invite you and look forward to that time. We've had many citizens that they claim that park as their own, and so they're there every day. They're watching it. We have had some issues you probably have heard with the dog park somewhat. We have renovated the dog park, and it is open to the public. Been very successful, and we have people from all cities and even from Tampa coming over using that now. We do know you might have heard some issues with the ground cover that we put there, which is bark. It's a pine bark, and We are looking at ways in which we might be able to mitigate some of their concerns or some of the citizens' concerns. But overall, I would say 95% of the people that use the park are more than pleased with it. The other issues we have at times are Muscovy ducks. If you're not familiar with them, they are the white ducks that are multicolored and have a nice red wattle, so to speak, on the side of their head. They are invasive ducks, but people, for whatever reason, they love them. The little ducklings are a little yellow, and they're cute as they can be, but they cause a tremendous mess. And so we're going to deal with that when we open the park and how we handle those. So those have been the two big issues that I've had to deal with, as well as other people just kind of peeking through the park all the time and taking pictures of people and what they're doing and what they're not doing. But that's going to be a great park when we open it. The other one I wanted to mention was the Oro Park. We're in plan stage for that. We're getting close to going out to bid for that park. It'll be a trailhead for the Ream Wilson Trail, as well as we are dealing with some addressing some drainage issues that are in that park to protect some of the residents of south of there and also north. And then the third thing is we wanted to replace some of the worn out equipment there, basically the tennis courts, the basketball courts. After 40 years of use, it's time. We can't just resurface them anymore. It's time that we have to replace them. So I wanted to know about that. I know that there has been some concerns by the Del Oro residents about that park and the design of the park, but I did want to make you aware of that. Basically, the other one is a Seminole boat ramp for those boaters. You got good news. In December, you'll have a restroom down there at Seminole boat ramp. And then the last one, just to let you know, the Long Center, as well as the Countryside Rec Center, we have renovated their basketball courts. And the Long Center is just now is complete, and Countryside will follow soon behind that. So those are some improvements. You'll note on the list that there are fewer and fewer new projects or new parks or new things that we're building. Right now, we're dealing with maintenance issues. We're maintaining the park systems that we have. We have a large infrastructure. Many of those are also playgrounds. I didn't mention it, but we are replacing several playgrounds within the next 2 to 3 months. Those include playgrounds I've got it here somewhere. We're going to do some playground work at Valencia Park is undergoing now, Wood Valley Park, Pier 60 Park. There is the North Greenwood Recreation Complex, that playground there, as well as a small park called Charles Park. So this is just in our regular maintenance program, but that's what you're going to see more of rather than new projects that we have ongoing. With that, are there any questions about the projects? Thank you.
Ms. Sullivan, do we need to ask for public comment on these items, correct?
Yes. Every time this laptop keeps going out, so hold on. 2408.
Okay, is there any public comment at the main library there? Not seeing any. I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, see, so no, other than that, no public and no electronic right at the moment.
Nothing electronically.
Okay, all right, then let's move on forward to the report on the COVID-19 effects on the parks and recreations.
This is Art Cater. I just wanted to report to you to let you know that COVID has, of course, impacted everyone, every citizen in the United States and around the world. But as far as Parks and Rec, I just wanted you to know that we have our maintenance staff and maintenance crew, they're all back 100% working as hard as they can. They were actually involved so much in this when it early hit on. The Recreation Programming Division, we're still not back at full strength. We do safety and health plans for every activity that we're doing at any one of our recreation centers or sites. When we work with our co-sponsor groups, we require them to do a health and safety check. Even though we're in phase 3 for the state of Florida, we still have every program that we do, we abide by the CDC guidelines. And what that means too is that we generally don't have a lot of large groups and crowds. We still have requirements for masks when entering, not when they actually do their activities. But we've been very careful about that. We've been very conservative, so to speak, about that as well. Rather than taking a chance or risking on something. I know that there was an issue with some of our football groups. One of the football groups was very adamant about playing football. 2 of the other groups that the city has decided early on, we're not going to do that. And so in the end, we did allow with a safety plan for them to begin their season. So I just wanted you to know that it's something that we're working with. I don't know when we're going to be back full strength. I don't know when we're going to be back as normal, but we do have operations going on. We are looking to open up our Aging Well Center here shortly, but that plan has to be very, very specific and the guidelines that they follow when we open that back up. So if there's any questions about that or any concerns you might have, or if you hear of anything in the community that we need to know about, please let us know.
Yeah, I know for one, my mother, she does the Silver Sneakers program, and yeah. And unfortunately, she's very active on her own, and walks the parks on her own when she can, or I walk with her. But other seniors that don't have the resources or family, or just they're still stuck at home a lot. And
what we did, that's a very good point. What we have done is that under Carrie Marszalik, our Aging Well coordinator, she has a program that she's been running where they contact seniors that are at home, generally alone or don't have anybody to contact them, where they just actually get online like we're doing now, or they Skype one another, they talk to one another, and they just, it's just important for them to hear from another human being, because some of them still are cooped up and not able to get out. So that's one of the things we've reached out a little bit for. And those are people that are our recreation card members and members of the Aging Well Center.
And what was that part? Which program is that does the Zoom calls?
It's a senior. We can just give me the name of any of them. They're Zoom calls. We keep in touch with them, but it's the Aging Well Center. The person's name is Carrie Marszalik. Marsalek. I don't have her number here, but certainly you give me an email on it, and I'll make sure that any senior you got out there would benefit from this program.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. She lives in a senior apartment building, so there's several people there, and her friends know people. So she's trying to kind of motivate her and at least try to by themselves go to the park. But yeah, other programs like that would help a lot. I can imagine how it is to be stuck at home, and people can't travel here and there. So I appreciate it.
If you can send that email to me, and I'll get you in touch with Carrie. They've been doing an amazing job throughout this whole thing.
Thank you. Yeah.
So this is Jennifer Wood. I have a quick question, and don't mean to back up, but I wasn't able to get my question in about the ID number 20-8391 on the CIP project. My question is for Art Cater. So on the Pier 60 bait shop, the sanitary lift station, can you give me a little more information? Was there issue with the lift station? Was there any sanitary runoff? Was there, any kind of pollution that was being created from this? Like, what set this off, and just if you can give me a little backstory on it, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'll try to do the best on it. The issue was that it was basically failing. It wasn't leaking. It's just very old. It has been in there since the restrooms were actually built. It's a lift station that has to be built over water, and it was at that time. One of the things that had happened is that the odor that was in the or in the building itself was very bad. We tried to mask it and do other things there. Actually, perhaps Michael, he's been in charge of the Pier 60 and has been dealing with this, so he could pretty much speak to that better than I can. Michael?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So the lift station obviously is it's an area where toilet water from toilet sinks, any drains go into, and then because it's out on the pier, it needs to be pumped back up to the to get into the regular sewage station, sewer system, excuse me. Over time, the seals and stuff that kept the top of that thing, you've probably seen lift stations on the side of the road. It's kind of like, it almost looks like they took a small version of that and put it inside of a building. This particular system was probably not intended to be used indoors. The odor was becoming a problem for staff. I mean, not terribly bad for the public, but in the back room and in the storeroom, it was, the smell was getting bad. So we looked at it. Public Utilities, which manages all of our sewer systems, looked at it. Our engineering department looked at it, and I think the decision was that this should be an encapsulated and a fully sealed system. So what we're putting in is a new type of pumping system that keeps everything fully sealed, and then there's an air compressor that actually ejects it out when it reaches a certain level. So no, there were never any spills or environmental concerns with that. I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you.
All right, does anyone have any other questions on, I guess, the report on the COVID-19 situation that we have? If not,
Mr.
move
Chairman,
forward
Bruce.
to the search for the new Parks and Recs director.
Mr. Chairman, Bruce.
Oh, yes.
I've got
I'm sorry, go ahead,
just a
Mr.
couple
Director.
things on the COVID. One is I wanted to thank and congratulate the Parks and Recreation staff for the tremendous job they have done here recently, helping us to address a spike in trash and debris on our beaches.
Yeah.
We're drawing definitely a different type of tourist here during COVID to the beach. I would argue a much more sloppy and disrespectful tourist in the way they leave the beach and they leave their area. And that was brought to the attention of the city. And I can tell you, I see it firsthand on weekends, the Parks and Recreation staff out there pulling extra duty and really making a difference. And I know here just in the last 3 weeks that the residents of the beach and the businesses have seen a noticeable difference and improvement because of the efforts of our Parks and Recreation Department. So I want to congratulate you on that and thank you for that. And then I did have one question on event permitting. Normally we have they call it Chalktober now, but the Beach Association or Beach Chamber had a chalk event on the sidewalks, and I guess because the city kind of had a moratorium, at least for a while, on all event permitting, and I'm curious if that is still in place, if it's on a case-by-case basis, like you talked about with football, where we need a safety plan. We need to understand it before we approve the event. What's the status of event approvals from Parks and Recreation at the moment with regard to COVID?
Michael, you want that or you want me?
I'll let you take that one, Art. I think you probably have a better, well-rounded understanding of the question.
Okay. Yeah, we have, with opening of 3, we have actually, we look at those things on a scale. Either it's low, medium, or it could be high. And in the low and medium events, activities, basically, those are ones that are, the decisions are, we take applications on those and all of them actually. But on the low and the medium, those are still monitored. We still have to have, safety plans, health plans. And on the larger events, those ones we struggle with a little more we send those to actually our the health person here in the city, as well as the assistant city manager. They review all of those. These are the larger events of, I think we're taking events up to 500 people. But they will still have to have a safety plan when we're doing that, Mr. Rector. It's slow moving because special events are difficult. We have 2 carnivals that are actually wanting to do events here, and we're still working through both of those. But we are taking applications now.
Thank you.
All right, but to move on to the new Parks and Recreation Director.
Yeah, this is just a brief report, and some of you may have already been invited to interview. There are 3 candidates that were selected that they brought in to interview. Some of the staff has. Certainly some of you might have been invited. The city council, city manager, assistant city manager have interviewed these people. Basically, there are 3 people. One is actually inside the city, Jim Halios. Another is Catherine Dunlap. She is, her work is out of Orlando and Disney World, has extensive record working with them. And then the other applicant is Russ Bosanko, and he is from the state of Washington, just north of Seattle, and actually runs a county parks department there. So the interviews were just taking place. I think they ended today. And I'm sure that the city manager, assistant city manager are going to be meeting later this week and getting all the input from people. And all the department heads also had an opportunity to meet with them as well. And so we'll hopefully have some decision and some direction this week sometime. So that's kind of the report I have right now.
Did we have any comments or questions or concerns at this time?
I have
This
no
is
comments.
Rafferty. Go ahead.
No, I have none. So go ahead.
I did have a question for you, Art. Was it a position that you yourself wanted to apply for or be considered as a permanent director of Parks and Recreation by any chance?
Well, that's a real tough. What is that? Is the 5th you hand or the 7th? Or I'm not sure. I may want to do 5th on that. No, I have been here. I've enjoyed, I love the city of Clearwater. I love Parks and Recreation. I have been here for 41 years as the Assistant Parks and Recreation Director, and I could never have asked for a better, wonderful career. But as far as the position itself, that's certainly something that I did not want to compete for. You know, let it be said that I'm good at doing what I do, which is, you know, I told the last director who was here, Mr. Dunbar, when he came in, I said, look, if you just take care of the 3rd floor, that was the old city hall. Now, if you take care of the 6th floor, I'll run the department for you. Just so I'm not, I can do the politics and those types of things, but I'm happiest when I can get to the people and work with people. But so it's not that I basically said, you know, you go out and find somebody. So I've done the internship twice. I don't think I'll be around to do it a 3rd time, but in any event, we'll see what happens. I mean, if a decision is not made and they think that I'm best, then so be it. But I guess that's the best answer I can give you.
Sometimes you find your happy medium in life. You know?
There you go. I'm happy either way. No matter what happens, it's good with me. You know, I've got that servant's heart, and it's great. So whatever.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And next, I guess, director's report, we don't have one at the moment. After that, the board members to be heard. If there's any board members who have any comments.
I'm sorry, before the,
That's right. I'm so sorry. Yeah, please.
may I?
Yeah.
What's not on the agenda is that every year the board makes a presentation to the city council in December. There's 2 meetings in December, and the chair of the board usually makes the presentation. You may want to be sending in what you think should be presented to Michael, and then Michael and Mark can get together and And you all can be there. There's 2 meetings in December. One's on the 3rd and one's on the 17th. They're at 6 o'clock. I'm not sure how it's decided, but the members are encouraged to be there.
Pat, while you're speaking there, can you clarify for the board, especially because there are 2 new members as well, just what the rules are about their communication between themselves and between as a full board and with me as the liaison and all that?
Okay, with sunshine law, you cannot communicate with each other. If you want to make any suggestions, you send them to Michael, and then he distributes them to everybody. So all communication needs to go through Mike.
Thank you.
Okay.
And this presentation to the, you said on 3rd and 17th, did we do that last year? I don't remember that. I don't remember if I was not familiar with that or we did that last year. I don't think we
I don't recall that from last year either.
Oh, well, all the other boards do.
Well, I think we were in a situation where it was December, but it was a very difficult time for us. It was a transition time for the department, and perhaps that's the reason why we did not have a report. I think the issue for us here too will be that unfortunately we did not have 2 meetings in this year as well. So the report that we have back may be very brief, and it also may be whatever the board decides they want to say. I mean, we could certainly help, facilitate that if that's helpful to you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess the point I was making about the communication thing is that if people have ideas for that they would be sent to me, and then I'll send them out to.
That is correct.
Right. And I think it's like limited to maybe 5 minutes. So it's not a long presentation. It's just, it is hard to say everything you did this year because, well, you guys didn't meet. But that might be a time where you would bring up how you want the, how things are done changed and how important you think it is to keep your parks and open space. I'm not putting words into your mouth, but.
Okay, I'm starting to get an idea of what.
Or your needs for fields or whatever. I don't.
So this is Jennifer Wood. I have a quick question. I think it was brought up that the council members are going to redefine what our board actually, how it's defined and what we do. Would that play a part into this presentation, or when does that take place and what are we to expect?
I can
go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, it's Michael Lavery again. So it's not redefining the boards. The counts, that's not what their intention is. I think they've heard some dissatisfaction, and I'm not sure which boards that came from, about the role that they play and the importance of the board, and I don't know how frequently they meet and all kinds of things like that. So I think the council members want to have a discussion so that they can all talk and have it out in the open, like, well, where do they stand as a council? What kind of input do they seek from the advisory boards? And what form does that take, and things like that. So that's why I think it's very important for all of you to watch that meeting. When it is announced, I will make sure you get the link for it. Art, do you have anything to add to that?
No, Michael's correct. They have not scheduled that meeting. They have talked about it on several occasions as far as needing to meet and wanting to meet to discuss the roles and responsibilities of the board. You know, I know you've all been given, there's an ordinance basically that dictates or says what the powers and duties of the board is, and it's very vague. So, and the other issue that you might have in regards, it basically says you're to consult with and advise the city manager and or other municipal officers, which would be Michael or myself. And then regarding basically the condition of our parks and recreation facilities and those types of things. I would like to mention that this ordinance was, I think it's in 1983. So it's very, very old, very, very outdated. And I think the council wants to get a grasp on where we are today in 2020, 2021. So that's the importance of that meeting. The other thing too is that the board meetings, we used to have them once a month. And then they went down to once every other month, 6, and then now we're down to 4 a year. So it depends on exactly what the council is desirous of and what they're needing and wanting. I'm just not sure when they're going to do it, but I certainly think it's something that you can weigh in on regarding, some of those duties or things that you might feel you want to do for them. Although it may be another thing, like Mr. Rector said, we ought to just wait and see what the council says first and then go from there.
I was looking at documents that kind of the board gives insight, and the semantics of it, it's different than advising and kind of where we stand. So yeah, no, I would really appreciate to be part of that. And maybe we can have that, well, figure out how to have that conversation through email. So Mr. Lager can disseminate those, recommendations, and we can all go from there, I believe. All right. Okay, does anyone else have any comments, questions, or concerns that need to be heard? If not, I move to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Scott Thomas, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate your time and all your efforts. Thank you, guys.
Nice to see you all again.